I love Miss Shirley.
Mhm.
And when I go home, I wanna see Miss Shirley.
Yeah, yeah.
And in fact, dude, Miss Shirley, as as mentally challenged as she is, dude, she's one of my number one encouragers. And she always says something that speaks to the heart of me, unlike anybody else. It's like, dude, she'll say something where she, man, what she does, God uses to push me, further in my trajectory, man. And she's even giving me parenting tips. And when she's walking on the street taking people's trash cans to the yard, people probably don't think Miss Shirley can give an ounce of wisdom about raising kids.
Mhm.
But dude, let me tell you, I think about the stuff that Miss Shirley has told me quite often. And I tell people like, hey, you might say this, like she might be this way and she might be mentally challenged, but somehow God gives her sometimes the right thing to say to me,
Mm.
and I appreciate it. And that's the reality, man. Like every human being is made in the image of God and has great value that they can add, regardless of the challenges that they may have, regardless of the basket case that we may be, regardless of the stench that we have. Dude, I always say on stage, God didn't give everybody everything, but He gave everybody something.
Mm.
Welcome to Well Metaverse, the podcast where Jason Earls and Aaron Sorrells navigate the explosive growth in the metaverse. Buckle up because we are in for a heck of a ride.
Well, good morning and happy Friday to you, Mr. Jason Earls. How you doing?
Man, I'm fantastic on this Friday. Super,
Yeah.
super excited, man. I'm paying the dad tax right now, bro.
What's the dad tax?
Dude, the dad tax is when you just got to pay when stuff don't go right, when stuff just
Ah,
dude, right?
about yeah.
I'm running a tad bit late. My wife said, hey, the oven's not working.
Oh,
I'm like,
oh man.
dad,
Oh,
dad tax, bro.
yeah, yeah. Now, are you? Does that mean you got to try to fix it, or does that mean you got to call somebody to fix it, or does that mean you got to go get a new oven?
Definitely not new oven. Just I gotta try to diagnose what's wrong. And
Mm.
that's what I was trying to do right quick, because it's my wife's got a friend coming in from out of town
Uh-huh.
and they like to bake.
Well, and you don't want to stand in the way of that, I'm sure.
Bro. And it's like, oh my goodness. So I'm running, trying to see if I can do a quick, you know, fix diagnostic tests and so what the quick stuff that I did didn't work. So right before I was like, is it working yet?
Oh.
And she said, absolutely not. I'm like,
Oh.
like, wow, you just took me on that roller coaster in
Yeah.
2.3 seconds, man. So that's what I'm doing, man. In the midst of, getting ready. We got my wife's special day is Sunday. My birthday is Monday. My son's birthday is Tuesday. My kids graduate from their 1 year college program on Saturday.
My goodness.
And the oven's not working, bro. And we gotta
Man.
we gotta we gotta go to Georgia for that. So we load up my wife and the rest of the four kids to head to Georgia. Then we graduate Friday, sorry. Saturday, we move them out of the dorms and head back here.
Oh, so they're coming back home, huh?
Just for the summer. And then they'll be heading out again. So
Very cool.
ah,
Yeah.
dad tax, baby.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
I
I've
pay the
been
cost to be the boss.
or at least that's what we tell ourselves.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I too, I fired up the lawnmower, for the first time, yesterday and,
Nice.
gave the lawn a quick mow, which lawnmower fired up without any problems and no dad tax there. However, I did find that one of the spigots that goes underground and goes to a drainage area, that has like there's been some settling or something, and that's no good. So I gotta go to Home Depot later and pay my own dad tax.
Yeah, and I gotta mow the lawn, clean the garage, cut some weeds. Some trees have grown. Some weeds have turned into small trees now.
Yeah, yeah.
the front the front of my lawnmower axle came off.
Oh.
And the good thing is my neighbor is an agriculture professor.
Oh, nice.
Dude, that's been the greatest thing. He was like, "Oh, we can fix that." Oh, sprinkler system. I teach this. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, let's go. Don't do it. Teach me how to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
My neighbor kitty corner across the street is a diesel mechanic, and so,
Wow.
beginning of this winter, when my snowblower wouldn't start, I'm like, this is I'm overshooting a little bit tagging you in. But what do you think? And, he got it diagnosed and fixed, relatively quickly. I won't tell you what the problem was. Well, I'll tell you what the
Yeah, I'm
problem
interested
was. Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. So, the problem was I wasn't using the electric start, so I just had to plug it in and use the electric start. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's what we
yeah.
call user error.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah, so it's things like that that you wanna tag in a highly experienced diesel mechanic to come over and plug your snowblower in so the electric
Absolutely.
start works.
She said, "Man, the crime shaft of the
That's
snowblower."
that's right. I took this thing apart and, I haven't been able to diagnose the problem.
Right. It's
Yeah.
broken. That's
It's
what what's
it is
wrong with
it
it.
is definitely broken, yeah.
Yeah, but what's wrong with it? It don't work.
Yeah. Is that oven working yet? Absolutely not.
Nah.
No.
Do you know
Uh
what my name is? Is the oven working? How dare you insult me like that?
Oh, man. Man, oh man alive. Dude, this is so good to connect and laugh a little bit. This has been an exciting week. There's been a couple times when I've popped into the Soapstone and just had super fun experiences.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
And then I've been hearing all about other super fun experiences that I'm missing out on. There's capacity. We can only fit so many people in the place at one time. So, like, there's times when I'm tagged out, and and then I'm like, oh man, I want to be there, but
Yeah, it's funny. So you got to explain that to people who don't understand that, because you can go into the soapstone like, wait a minute, this is not what I'm hearing about what's going on is actually not going on in this. It's only two people in here.
that's exactly right. Right now our capacity in the soapstone is 18 people. So there can only be 18 people in an instance at a time. So the 19th person, they start their own new instance. And I mean, we can have an unlimited number of people in the soapstone at a time, but they're all in different soapstones.
Different dimensions.
That's right. Yeah, mirror dimensions. Yeah. But yeah, so it's, like, when we have, organized events, it's a challenge because only so many people can fit in there, and we've really been trying to figure out how to best do that, and it's funny because there's 2 competing strategies. You can either be exclusive or you can be inclusive. And everything we've done in the soapstone has been to try to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Like we want people to come and be able to come in anytime and be included in the soapstone. The exclusive thing is, hey, you know what? We're going to do the invite only. We're going to do private sessions and things like that, which we've done that as well. But the long term vision, like I really want everybody to be able to be included. So It's just different approaches. Other places do the exclusive uh, thing. Actually, I just had somebody tell me, because in Horizon Worlds, typically traffic is a very valuable thing and something that people desire is,
Yeah,
traffic come into the world. And I was going to drop a door to somebody's world, and that would send a lot of traffic their way.
yeah,
And they contacted me and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I'd prefer if you didn't drop a door because, I only want my friends to come here and I don't want just everybody." And I'm like, All right, all right,
alright.
I get it. That's cool." So
That's so good. Yeah, that's good. This is a private party.
that's
Like
it.
that
That's right. Yeah.
like the funny thing about the door is if someone sees you go to the door, they can follow you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that train ride that we went to. I never forget that. That was I almost felt violated at first. Like, wait a minute. Y'all are stalking us, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and also with, in Horizon Worlds, once you're friends with somebody, they can see where you are and they can join in on
Yeah,
on you too. So that's cool. That became a little bit of an issue because there's new event tools in Horizon where you can start an event and you can gather a group of people in the event before it officially starts,
yeah.
so that you could get organized and whatnot. But there's a little bit of a bug in there where people could still join on you. So we were taking her for a test drive, and we got a couple people there getting ready to start an event, and then boop boop boop, all of a sudden people start popping in, and it's like, "Wait." So
Hey,
so
that's what happens when you Mr. Popular, man.
or the people. I'll tell you what, our hosts, they are becoming, very popular. I mean, they're celebrities. You walk around and, I mean, you just hear their names, and I love it. I I
That's so
love it,
good.
and there's times when I could pop in and just be in the background and give them the spotlight, and, oh, I love that. That's my
I was
favorite.
I was about to say, man, that's gotta be amazing just being able to see the fruits of your labor, especially as a leader who wants to employ different leaders.
Mm.
When you see your leaders lead and you don't have to, that that is success.
It is. And, yeah, and it's important to acknowledge though that, um, man, there's these moments of success, there's these moments of everything clicking and working, but at the same moment, there's tough things that we're dealing with, in the Soapstone. Our leadership team, um, it's it's a challenge. There's conflict. I'll say that.
I was about to say, it's like high school drama on steroids.
It really is. There's an incredible amount of drama that comes with the metaverse. And, obviously my clearest view of it is within the soapstone. But I mean, I talk to people, it's certainly not exclusive to the soapstone. It's all throughout the metaverse. And
It's
it and it's what it is. We've talked a lot about how when you come into the metaverse and you sit down and you start talking to people, you immediately develop these deep connections and bonds. Well, we're doing that with only a small portion of the information. you know,
mhm.
the yeah, the programming, the brilliant programming is tricks our mind into thinking that we're right in front of somebody, and so we project onto those people kind of what we want to see. And
Yeah,
so when things start connecting, you said everything's amplified in in the metaverse. Well, yeah, it is. And it's because we ourselves are amplifying it. We're projecting, we're taking little bits of information and projecting everything else onto them. And because of that, we end up appreciating them, loving them, just all this great deep stuff. And then all of a sudden something happens that conflicts with our perception and it explodes.
you like, whoa. It's
Right.
like you go super deep and get connected with the person where in real life you would kind of evaluate, you would see different red flags and know of like, if I'm really gonna invest this much relationship equity in a person. In the metaverse, you automatically do it. It's like all those filters are gone. And
All
then you
those filters are gone. Yeah.
and then you connect with a person and like, oh snap, I'm connected with a basket case.
And here's the thing, we're all basket cases.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly right. You're like, man, I didn't choose to smell this person's stuff.
Yeah.
In real
That's
life, you choose to like, okay, I really like that person. I know that their stuff gonna show up. When it shows up, I'm vested enough to
right.
deal with the stench.
Yeah, that's right, and it's that time frame. You
Yeah.
know, the depth of relationship we develop in the metaverse happens in, like, 20 minutes. If you spend 20 minutes talking to somebody in the metaverse, man, you're friends forever.
Yeah.
But in real life, you know, it takes multiple encounters and it's a slow build. Uh, but again, that fast build, I mean, what do you trade when you build something fast? You trade foundation.
That's so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. That dude, that is that, that is a great leadership principle right there. The you when you build fast, you trade foundation.
Mm,
But what's fundamental is a foundation.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm just thinking about, and that's not necessarily public right now. Just the leadership stuff that I'm involved with, like, trying to
Mhm.
make a decision if I'm going to really embrace the leadership, uh, a leadership role within a certain organization, and that I've been a part of for a long time. And and I'm thinking, if I were to do that, and I'm consistently going back and forth every day.
Yeah.
And man, just the idea of, if I do, although I have 12 years of being in more of a middle of the pack role, kind of towards the front, if I do ultimately take the front seat and start driving the bus, still make sure that, although I've had 12 years of building somewhat of a relationship foundation, I got to make sure I take the time and establish my leadership foundation before the fast build.
That's yeah, that is very insightful to recognize that, hey, you may have known these folks for 12 years, but when you change the dynamics, you're starting over a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's I've started, where I'm actually preparing to start reading the book Necessary Endings.
I'm not familiar with that book.
Dude, it's so one of my mentors has talked about it, who leads a very large organization. And he's always talking to me about the decisions that he needs to make, and tough decisions, very
Mhm.
tough decisions, and how just some principles that he's learned from this book has uh has really helped him. And when I told him that I had purchased the book and just I'm finishing another book before I dive into this one, he just said, "That's the first book you need to take your leadership team to through."
Oh, okay.
He like that. That is the most important book right there.
Wow.
Necessary Endings.
Mm.
So maybe you and I can, when I get on that one, since you didn't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
my other book.
It's
Dude,
yeah.
that is so great. That is so great.
Yeah.
I was listening to it out, dude. I laugh so hard. I'm like, yep, I see. I see.
Yeah.
To everybody who don't know what it talking about, you want to set it up?
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, Jason and I, obviously several times in these discussions, different books that we've been reading have come up. So he says, "Hey, I'm looking at this book. You know, why don't we check it out together, and then we can kick it around and chop it up on the podcast." You know, but I started listening to it on the audiobook, and, we won't say the name of the book,
Yeah, we won't.
but I didn't care for it. It was just it just didn't resonate, or I didn't resonate with it, but
That's funny. And some people like, wow, this shows the distinguished difference between Jason and Aaron right now. Aaron didn't like the book. Jason loved the book. Let me explain it to you. Okay. So the book is not necessarily for high level executives. It's not. But it's like that drunk uncle or
Sorry. Sorry, that just
Dude,
I
that's
love
it,
that.
right?
Yeah, I love
It's
that
it's like that
analogy.
drunk uncle, man, and everybody's like, dude, I would not dare allow him in the boardroom. But then you like, yeah, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
He might be drunk. He might have this stench with him. He might not know how to, you know, conjugate the right verbs and everything. But every now and then, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yep, yep.
And when it's that time for that broken clock to be right, dude, it is on point for 1 minute. And for me, it's certain things that he said that
Mhm.
just jabbed me in a way that only an uncle could say.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I need. And it was so good to me. I was blinded by the fact that my drunk uncle isn't a hero.
Well, and, the boy, there's so much value to unpack in where we're at right here with that, because on the one hand, if we look at something and don't see value in it, don't see that it's something that's applicable in our lives right now, other people may be in a spot or maybe going through something that it resonates, it hits the bullseye. It's
Yeah,
not all people are dealing with the same stuff and needing to hear the same thing at the same time. Thank
right.
God, it'd be a boring world if that if that was the case. So how cool is it that, you know, that I look at something and I'm like, boy, I don't know that there's value here. And you look at something and say, man, there's incredible value here. And you know what? We're both right.
Yeah,
We're both right, because it's kind of the same thing as in the metaverse, where we project on to somebody, and fill in the blanks with our story and with what we're going through and what we're experiencing. And it's the same thing with a book. You know, if if we're in a spot where it strikes a chord with us, then we're going to love that book regardless of what else is going on. So, and then the second thing, how cool is it that you and I can disagree on something and just be like, "Cool." You know?
that's what's so great about it. That. I think that's the greatest thing that I've taken away. Like, man, the fact that you absolutely hated it. Dude, even though we were on the phone talking, dude, how you communicated that was hysterical to me. What
Oh.
the fact that you communicated to me, I love. But the fact that you're like, man, I'm just gonna tell you, man, it didn't do it for me.
I'm like, "Man, it didn't feel like it was written very well,
Dude, it was
and it was
so
read even worse." You know? It was
oh, dude. And if you see the book, you would really get a chuckle. But man, let me just tell you, dude, that for me, that was probably even I'm not gonna say it was as equal as what I'm getting out of the book. Just the quality of a friend just being able to say, dude, you love it. And it almost man, I gotta tell you this, dude. It was horrible. It was pathetic.
Right. I
And
did
I'm
I
still
did
like,
ask first, I was like, "Hey, was this a friend of yours that wrote this book?"
that's great. That is so good. And I was like,
Yeah,
no, I didn't meet him. But
yeah,
man, that is just so funny to me.
yeah.
But yet I still stand by it. I'm like, this is so good to me. And even he's I was listening to it um on the way home. We're in the airport. And he said something again. I was like, I need to stop and I need to journal.
Mm.
That's how much like it's little
Yeah,
jabs like that. It's
yeah,
kind of like what's funny is, I you have that family member who always uses these old sayings, and those sayings to you are so profound and heavy
yeah.
because you upfront with your family, but you get outside that family context and you give your uncle's quote, and everybody look at you like, yeah, don't say that again.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Just
Man,
take the principle and let people see the principle
it
lived out. Don't quote your uncle.
yeah. Well, and let people like the content that we create, it, it's not even about that content. It's about the journey that it kicks people off on.
That's good.
Yeah, so, I mean, it does things don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be, written profoundly to where, you know, each sentence is a poem, but if there's an idea, if there's a jab, it almost doesn't matter how it's presented if it starts people on a journey towards inspiration, towards revelation, that's, there's some truth there.
Yeah, dude. There's this lady in my neighborhood. Uh, man, shout out to Miss Shirley. Dude,
Miss Shirley.
Miss Shirley is just as sweet as she can be. I love Miss Shirley. But Miss Shirley is not a but. I love Miss Shirley. Let me explain to you how Miss Shirley is. She's got some mental stuff going on,
Mm,
and she walks around the neighborhood, and she'll take out people's trash cans or bring them out from the curb, just for a little bit of extra money or money.
mm,
Uh, Somebody got her on YouTube or TikTok dancing, and it's one of those neighborhood, you know, everybody's more laughing at her than with her.
uh,
But dude, I love Miss Shirley.
mhm.
And when I go home, I want to see Miss Shirley.
Yeah, yeah.
And in fact, dude, Miss Shirley, as mentally challenged as she is, dude, she's one of my number one encouragers. And she always says something that speaks to the heart of me, unlike anybody else. It's like, dude, she'll say something where what she does, God uses to push me, further in my trajectory, man. And she's even giving me parenting tips. And when she's walking on the street taking people's trash cans to the yard, people probably don't think Miss Shirley can give an ounce of wisdom about raising kids.
Mhm.
But dude, let me tell you, I think about the stuff that Miss Shirley has told me quite often. And I tell people like, hey, you might say this, like she might be this way and she might be mentally challenged, but somehow God gives her sometimes the right thing to say to me,
Mm,
and I appreciate it. And that's the reality, man. Like every human being is made in the image of God and has great value that they can add, regardless of the challenges that they may have, regardless of the basket case that we may be, regardless of the stench that we have. Dude, I always say on stage, God didn't give everybody everything, but He gave everybody something.
mm.
And man, it's great when we know how to value people something.
Dude,
And
that right there is the heart of the soapstone.
hmm,
That's why we encourage people towards the spotlight. There was somebody that came in yesterday, and it was literally this person's first day in VR. And, she was a young lady who was on her male roommate's, Oculus, so she's her avatar is a dude with a mustache, and she comes in and she's just bewildered by this entire process. She's so outside of herself, the avatar doesn't represent her,
right.
um, and there are, gender-wise, people represent themselves a lot of different ways in the um, metaverse, and that's all fine and good. I'm not making any statement about that. But she was in an avatar that wasn't how she was trying to represent herself. So there was that conflict with her going on, and she's in a new place, she's in a new body, she's meeting new people. Everything's just this wild thing. And and people met her and welcomed her in and made her feel comfortable and then explained the open mic system.
Yeah.
And she got up on stage and started singing, and she's like, "I can't believe I'm doing this." And the crowd got into it, and tell you the truth, it wasn't great. You know, she's not looking to win American Idol anytime soon, you know, but it was an awesome experience that that she loved and the people in the audience loved, and it made her feel comfortable, and the people in the audience got something out of it. And it's man, I love that.
That's so good, bro. So good. Yeah, that's my Miss Shirley, man.
Yeah.
I love Miss Shirley.
Yeah. You know, when I left uh my good grown-up job as a marketing manager and started addressing alcoholism in my life,
Yeah.
um, you know, we went through a series of lifestyle downgrades
Mm.
because half of our income went
Yeah.
away. And we went from a big fancy condo to a little fancy condo to a little apartment, that was half of a two-story house in kind of the rougher side of Grand Rapids in the low rent district.
Yes, sir.
And um, and all that was fine and good. And one of the really cool things that came out of that is one of my best friend's neighbor, or one of my best friends there at the time, who was our neighbor. He was homeless. His name's Al the Pal, and he lived in a parking lot just kind of behind the other side of the alley of our house, you know.
Hmm.
And it was the same thing. Like, he would pop up and bring these just moments of joy
Yeah.
with him, and he was so genuine. He was so um, appreciative. Like, we allowed him to use our hose spigot so he could fill up buckets of water and kind of bathe himself.
Yeah.
And there was one summer day that it was super, super hot, and he had a bucket of water filled up, and my wife, in the kind of foyer of the little place. This is like about 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment, and there was a little entryway. That's where her office was set up, and
Yeah.
and he comes up to the you could kind of see through the window, and he'd come up and put his head up and look through the window, and she was on the phone, and then she sees him take the bucket and just dump it over his head and just do one of one of these numbers, and that he came to our house for Thanksgiving one year.
Awesome.
Oh, it was so great. First thing that was great is my mom was also there, and my mom said, "Hey, are you trying to set me up with Al here?" And I said, I said, no, mom, he's just here. This isn't a blind date. Don't you
Right.
know?" But
Mom
we were
mom was concerned.
that's right, right. Wait,
What am I
yeah,
supposed to do here?
you're right. Where do you think this is going? Yeah, I'm like, no, no. But we sat down for dinner, and Al looked over and he noticed that there was a Bible on the bookshelf, and he said, "Do you mind if I say grace?" And I said, "Al, I not only do I not mind, please do. This is great."
Yeah.
Dude picks up the Bible, sets it down in front of him, opens it up, and says, "In the beginning." and then and then he kept going. He read he read about a page and a half, and then he just kind of closed it, and he said, "All right, that's," and I didn't know whether to say amen or applaud or what. It was great, like,
That's
uh,
funny. In the 5th chapter of Leviticus,
you know, you know,
before we partake of this turkey.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I still see him on Facebook from time to time. He's got a Facebook account, so he's still doing all right. I don't see him as often now because we're out in suburbia again. But and
That's great.
now my office and my wife's office are on opposite sides of the house, so I can be in here doing a podcast and she can be on a conference call, and
That's
there's
great.
no interaction.
Dude, there was this homeless guy that showed up at our church, and man, he was like clearly he was off, but very intelligent.
Mm,
And I was like, man, there's no way. Like he was living right underneath the overpass, not even a half a mile from our church. And I was like, dude, that doesn't sit well with me.
yeah.
We need to spend some time with this guy. Like, find out what his story. How can we help him? So, man, I walked up to to the intersection and walked up just where he was staying. Like, hey, man, let's talk, man. Can I get you something to eat? He was like, I want to go to your house. I was like,
Oh, oh. Yeah.
I'm like, hold on, man. He was like, listen, you want to help me? Take me to your house. I was like, bro, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but for you to just to force your way to my house is a little red flag for me.
Yeah.
Just let's just talk, man. Like, what's your dream? What do you want to
Yeah.
do? He was like, man, I want to rap. Mind you, he looked more like you than me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He would be on your family tree and not mine. Well,
Okay.
before I came, before my family came over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's this white white man from Pennsylvania and
Mm.
somehow got over here, man. And so it's like if I'm gonna help him, I also need to build this relationship. I was like, man, you want to rap? You know what? I tell you what, I got some camera stuff. I'll let me film you and uh and let me hear what you got.
Uh-huh.
And this dude had conceptually, he had some he had some good stuff. And so we started talking. Then just so happened, somebody came to the church. It's like, it's a man living under the bridge. It just doesn't sit well with me. I need to do something. And this man was very well to do.
Mm.
So he and I said, man, I feel the same way that you do. In fact, I'm having conversations with him. And I'm saying, I'm glad you do because not everybody feels the same way.
Mhm.
He's like, so what do you think we should do? I said, man, I think we should. I don't want to bring him to my house. That's a little dangerous right now because he's not like clearly he checks in and checks out.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we should get him probably get him a hotel, get him a couple of nights at a hotel till I could really figure out how to help him. So sure enough, man, we went, set him up at a hotel, gave him a night's rest, some food, went to check in with him the next day. That hotel was smelling so much like smoke.
Oh. Yeah.
But he was, he still was good. I was like, man, let's here, man, use my phone. Call anybody you need to.
Yeah.
Aha. So when he used my phone, I just went back into history and then I started calling people like, who is he?
Oh,
How
okay.
can we help him? Contacted his
Ah,
mom. His mom was like, he can come home. He just don't want to because he has a warrant.
yeah. Yeah.
But I started a really good friendship with this dude, man. And he wind up, my church said it was too dangerous for him to keep coming around because there was some security issues that were
Yep.
coming up.
Yeah.
And when they did that, dude, my heart was broken. Dude,
Mm.
because I was like, this is my friend.
Yeah.
And I was walking him slowly, but getting him help. We had made contact with family. And
Yeah.
but it was I say that to say, I don't know. No, no, I say that to say it was, man, just seeing the value of somebody who everybody else had written off. And for a brief moment, to be able to help an inspiring rapper that he had
Yeah.
he had
Yeah.
one jam.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that story took us around
No,
around the corner, around the
that's
way, but
that
that's
was
just
good stuff.
I think about him often, man. His name
Well,
was
and you
King.
were talking about, uh, basically how to help somebody. And like you had it on your heart, okay, I want to help this guy. But there's a couple of really important things that you covered there. One is boundaries. You know, if we're going to step into a role where we're going to help somebody, we have to have boundaries.
Listen to this man. This is
Oh, and we got to have those boundaries, and it's so tempting to let those boundaries down and to take risks that we shouldn't necessarily have. And then the other piece there is, how did you help him? You asked him what he wanted, and he said, "I want to be a rapper." And you filmed him and just kind of helped him along that journey. We assume that these are people that want exactly what we want, and
yeah,
it's hardly ever the case. My friend Al the pal, he had no desire to live traditionally. I mean, there were mental health issues there. There were other, other. He was admitted alcoholic, and there were a lot of problems going on there. But to solve those problems, it wasn't really that wasn't his jam. You know,
yeah.
he was doing okay, and you know, so and I'm reminded too of another person that I met, and I was walking around downtown Grand Rapids, and I saw a homeless guy that was sitting on a bench, and I thought, hey, I'm gonna chat with him, see what's up, and I started talking to this dude, and he like actually he ministered to me something powerful, but he said I got two things. I like to travel light, is what he was saying.
Hmm.
You're basically saying, I'm all right with my lifestyle. I get what I need when I need it, and I like to travel light. And he said, I've got two things that I value. And one, boom, he pulls a crucifix necklace out. And he said, I wear this because it reminds me that my God loves me and that he's taking care of me.
Hmm.
And then he pulls out of his pocket a laminated piece of paper with phone numbers on it, and he would frequent this mission called Matthew's house,
Yeah.
and um and it somebody got a hold of Matthew's house and said, "Hey, I know this guy comes in there. I need to get him phone numbers so he can reach out to the family when he needs to." And they took those phone numbers, they printed it up on a piece of paper and laminated it. And laminated it.
Wow.
So that doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me or you. But when you're traveling light and all you got is a crucifix necklace and a piece of paper, that piece of paper has to be laminated because it's
Absolutely.
gonna get wet. Man, what a awesome thing that the way that mission helped him was to give him something that he needed and give it to him in the way that he needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I always one thing you talk about being being kind to just mankind. I always tell people some people try to justify treating people wrong because of because of who they are, what they've done, what they're doing. And I always say, dude, even in jail they got recess. like, like in the most hardcore prison, there's some type of brief break they
Oh,
give.
man, I love that phrase. Even in jail, they have recess.
Dude, they
Wow.
let's go to the yard, man. Like take them out of the yard, let them play a ball. They got checkers. They do something in there. Like that's part of treating humans like humans, man. And
Wow, that's huge. I mean, what a mindset. Because yeah, there is the school of thought that, hey, this was this person's decisions that brought them to this point. It's all business. You
right.
know, It's all business, and to set that aside for a minute and say it doesn't have to be all business. Even prisons have recess.
You said something a few podcasts ago, and that's this. You just brought out what laughter does.
Mm,
So if you really want to help people rehabilitate, if you want to help human beings become better, don't always try to be uh super strong, demanding with them. Sometimes try to make them laugh
yeah.
because the healing element of laughter. I'm not saying have this greasy grace. This you just let people do whatever they want. I'm not saying that at all. There needs to be boundaries, as you said. There needs to be standards,
Mhm,
and there needs to be people need to demonstrate fruits, fruit of repentance or fruit of change.
mhm,
But that doesn't stop you from being treating a person like a human and give them this healing element.
mm.
And laughter heals, stress
Laughter
heals.
heals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even prisons have recess.
Even prison recess. I always tell that to parents, man. When they like my kid, like, yeah, they need to be corrected. They
Mhm.
need to be challenged. Uh, you got to be careful saying the word punished, whatever that looks like. But man, you don't need to treat them like animals either.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we
Can I can I give a resource right quick?
yeah.
I'm thinking about this movie that I saw that's actually from a book called Same Kind of Different as Me. Same kind of different than me. I'm saying same kind of different as me.
Mm,
By a guy by the name of Ron Hall. Uh, he was this world class um, art dealer and who had committed adultery, and his wife found out, and but then his wife also found out that she had terminal cancer,
mm.
and but she decided in the midst. She told her husband, like, you know what, I'm not going to leave you on the one condition that you need to serve with me. And she started serving at this homeless shelter
Mm.
at the Union Gospel Mission. And she had a dream about this man that was at a homeless shelter. And it's really weird, dude. She went to the homeless shelter and saw the man that she had been dreaming about, that she needed to help.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And so she wound up getting her husband to befriend this person, and they became real good friends. And the guy he's still the art dealer is still living. Uh and they became good friends. And dude, the homeless guy who was an ex-con, the art dealer says this. He's a millionaire and says that this is the wisest man that he's ever known.
Mm,
And he walks through the store. He has another book uh called, I think it's called Find Working Our Way Home. Listen, Michael Jr. did an interview with him on a podcast.
mhm.
I'm blown away by some of the insight that this homeless person gave.
Wow.
Oh, dude.
So that dream that this art dealer's wife had, and when she walked in and saw the guy that she needed to help, she was really seeing the guy that needed to help her husband.
Yeah, and yes, that's it. That and yeah, and that's what it gets into.
Yeah. Wow.
Man, this guy, this is one of my greatest takeaways. So they would oftentimes go, because this guy was homeless, they would walk around Fort Worth, downtown Fort Worth, and of course the homeless friend wouldn't tell the guy what to do with his money, but he would just get cash and just give it to the guy's homeless friends. And one day a guy was drunk, and he was about to give him some money, but he saw he was drunk. He didn't give it to him. And the homeless friend told him, "Man, give him the money." He was like, "No, I'm not giving it to him. He's gonna take it and get drunk." Absolutely not. and say, man, he said, who are you to judge this man?
Mm,
What you don't understand is this man was very intelligent before his fall. He worked hard, but he got hurt. And because got hurt, he couldn't provide for his family. So now he's on the streets and he gets drunk. But when people give him money, what he does with his money is send it back to his family.
mm, mm.
But you're judging him thinking that he's going to get drunk
Right.
with your money.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do that story justice. That's the story that he tells on this podcast. He talks about on working my way home. How do we get here, bro?
I know this is
We talk about the metaverse. We talk now. We talking about people who've impacted us who don't even have Wi-Fi.
it's all related. It's
Indeed.
all related, man, and it's that's the the dynamics of meeting a homeless person that you don't think has anything to offer you, and then digging in and finding out that you're blessed from that relationship. It's the same thing with meeting somebody at a mall, or a mall. What decade am I in? Are those still a thing? Yeah. But it's the same, man. It's interpersonal relationships. The dynamics change a little bit depending on the setting, but it's all the same.
you one of the greatest compliments someone ever gave me was we were at a dinner. It was four of us at a dinner. All of us worked together, and the leader of our organization said, "Let's go around the table and give what we see about each person, the positive stuff." And one guy told me in that restaurant, he said, "Jason has this gift to be able to sift through all the debris of life in a person and find a rose."
Oof. I, I see that about you, and I see how that impacts you to reflect on that feedback. That's
Yeah,
oh,
but also what that's also done for me, it encouraged me and it actually made me lean into that. But what it also did for me as a guy who understands 360 degree leadership, part of it always I always wonder, what is the toxic is there any toxic debris that I'm overlooking to get to that rose? And that's and and I'm as a leader that sometimes concerns me, like, will I waste too much time? And this sounds weird, but I'm just being super transparent right here, vulnerable. Well, do I sometimes waste time going in and digging the rose and expose everybody else to the toxicity uh, as a result of that? What are the dangers if I am like the ultimate leader of an organization and I'm always finding roses? What's the danger of all the extra debris? I
well, a wise man once told me that even prisons have recess. Y- you know, it's okay for some of us to focus on finding that rose. It's okay for some of us to focus on that moment of reprieve. It's okay to for some of us to be entirely focused on the good. Um, because other people are focused on the painful parts of growth, you know.
yeah.
But we have to recognize that, especially in a leadership position. And you and I are both like this. We're going to find that rose.
Hmm.
We're going to dig for that rose, and a bunch of the toxic stuff we can overlook and even, dare I say, ignore.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do that, we got to make sure that there's other people to complement that skill set.
Indeed.
because it does somebody just as big of a disservice to ignore toxicity as it does to ignore the rose or the positivity.
Yeah, no doubt. I man, another good person to read some of their stuff is Bob Goff.
Oh yeah.
Dude, one day I'm my first time meeting Bob Goff was in a it wasn't a limousine. It was like a Michael Jr., Bob Goff, and I were all going to the same event. And of course, those two were speaking. I was just tagging along. And so when the guy picked us up from the airport, he's like, "I got to pick up somebody else." And Bob Goff gets in the car. So he's like, "Michael." He's like Bob. So they start laughing, talking. He's like, "Who's your friend?" And Michael says, "Oh man, this is my friend Jason. He just got out of prison yesterday, and I brought him on this trip with me." Bob was like, "That's awesome. That's all." And then Michael looked at me. He's like, "That joke doesn't work with Bob because
You're right.
that's stuff Bob would do." he yeah, he goes after the rose and deals with the toxicity when it shows up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but he's also got people around him and systems set in place. But what I've learned from him, like you said, is like, dude, just go for the rose, man. And
Well, and
and so
people are aware of the toxicity.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions. There's some
right,
people that are blinded to it, but for the most part, people are aware of that, and oftentimes they feel trapped. Or I'm not gonna say they, I'll say we.
yeah,
Oftentimes we feel trapped in the toxicity, and if somebody just recognizes that rose, it can wake up that desire to move towards that, to amplify that, to make that the focus.
yeah,
Um, I've experienced it in my life many times, where when somebody recognizes potential, when somebody recognizes value, when somebody recognizes that rose, it'll inspire me to deal with my own garbage.
yep, yep. So good, so
Well,
good.
this man, this is again, I never know where these conversations are going to go. It's just amazing how we can get together and talk about the explosive growth, the exponential growth in the metaverse, and end up talking about times that our lives have been impacted from, whether it's our homeless neighbor or the homeless neighbor of the local church or Bob Goff.
Yeah,
you know, like it's just amazing.
absolutely.
People are amazing, and we can learn things and appreciate people of all walks of life. And I love that.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure. We will be back next week with a brand new episode, and you can always find us at jasonearls.com, theunemployedalcoholic.com, or at the Soapstone Comedy Club in Horizon Worlds.